Hey, good evening, my brothers and sisters. This is Brother Jonas, and we're going to break down about the biblical concept of tithing, and we're going to go precept after precept. Now, we know that every Sunday or every Saturday, you have a lot of pastors and deacons and stuff like that read Malachi chapter 3, 6 all the way to 11. And we're going to break everything down with precepts. Okay? This is what it says. I am the Lord, or Yah. I do not change. That is why your descendants of Jacob are not already destroyed. Ever since the days of your ancestors, you have scorned my decrees and failed to obey them. Now return to me, and I will return to you, says the Yahweh of the heavens armies. But you ask, how can we return when we never gone away? Should people cheat Elohim? Yet you have cheated me. But you ask, what do you mean? When did we ever cheat you? You have cheated me of tithes and offerings due to me. You are under a curse, for your whole nation has been cheated me. Bring all the tithes into the storehouse, for there will be enough food in my temple. If you do, says the Yahweh of heaven's army, I will open the windows of heaven for you, and will pour out a blessings so great that you won't have enough room to take it in. Try it. Put me to test. Now, verse 11, your crops will be abundant, for I will guard them from insects and diseases. Your grapes will not fall from the vines, before they are ripe, says the Yahweh of heaven's army. Now, your pastors and your leaders and deacons all the time, they stick onto this thing. But there's a verse that's very important, and we have to pay attention to these verses. And we must go in verse 9. This is what it says. But you ask, what do you mean? When did we ever cheat you? You have cheated me of the tithes and offerings due to me. Now, let's go into verses 10. It says, bring all the tithes into the storehouse, so there will be enough food in my temple. If you do so, says the Yahweh of heaven's army. And notice in verse 11, your crops will be abundant. Your grapes will not fall from the vine. Now, you got that one part. Now, what does it mean when we go to Matthew chapter 22? You'll see the difference between tithe and this is what, remember in Matthew 22, the Pharisees, they wanted to trap Yahshua HaMashiach, and they were asking him, what do you think about, right here in verse 17, we read this right here. Now tell us, what do you think about this? Is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? And Yahshua knew their evil motives. You hypocrites, he said, why are you trying to trap me? Here, show me the coin used for the tax. And when they handed him the Roman coin, he asked, whose picture and title are stamped on it? They answered, Caesar, they replied. Well then, he said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give to Elohim what belongs to Elohim. Now, if you go back to Malachi chapter 9, chapter 3, verses 9. Verses 8, it says, "You have cheated me of the tithes and offering due to me." Okay? Now, what it is, but when we go to verse 10, now verse 10 is very important. It says, "Bring all the tithes into the storehouse, so there will be enough food in my temple." Okay, let's go to the precept of that. In Deuteronomy 14, we're going to read verses 22 to 29. And all that thing is going to start up. You say, "You must set aside a tithe of your crops, 1/10 of all the crops you harvest each year." Notice it says that a tenth each year, not every Sunday, not every Saturday, each year. "Bring this tithe into the designated place of worship, the place the Yahweh your Elohim chooses for his name to be honored, and eat it." Now notice it said, your pastor don't teach you that. Notice it said, "Eat it there in his presence." This applies to your tithes of what? The tithes of what? Grain, new wine, olive oils, and the firstborn males of your flocks and herds. Doing this will teach you always to fear the Yahweh your Elohim. Now, when the Yahweh your Elohim blesses you with a good harvest, that's where we're talking about the place of worship he chooses for his name to be honored, might be too far for you to bring the tithe. Now, notice this is where it's going to talk about money, and we're going to break it down right here. Verse 25, "If so, you may sell the tithe." Now, notice it said tithe. You remember when we were talking in Matthew 22, talking about what is Caesar. Caesar is fiat money. You know, I always talk about fiat money and commodity money. Now, notice it said you can sell the tithe. Now, we're talking about commodity right here, okay? Oil, crops, herds, and all that stuff, all of that is commodity. Tithe portion of your crops, notice that the tithe portions of your crops and herds. Put the money, now notice this. You see that? It said, "If so, you may sell the tithe portion of your crops and herds and put the money in your pouch." Notice this. It says sell the tithe. Now, you see the difference right here? And then say, "Go to the place of the Yahweh your Elohim has chosen. And when you arrive, you may use the money to buy." Now, Pastor don't like that. Now, you see the difference between tithe and money? You see what I'm saying? This is what Elohim was trying to teach us. That's why he said, "Give to Caesar what's for Caesar, and give to Elohim what's for Elohim." To buy any kind of food you want. Now, the tithe is what? Food. It said you want cattle, sheep, goats, wine, or other alcoholic drink. Then feast there in the presence of Yahweh your Elohim and celebrate with your household. Notice it says that we can eat the tithe. Now, verse 20 is 27. "Do not neglect the Levites." Okay? Now, this is a different one. "In your town, for they will receive no allotment of the land among you." They didn't have no inheritance of the land. Verse 28. "At the end of every third year." Now, this is where verses 10, when it tells bring all the tithes in the storehouse that there may be food. Okay? "At the end of every third year." Now, the first of every year was belonging to you and your household. Now, at the end of every third year, bring the entire tithe of what that year's harvest to the store, to the nearest town. Give it to the Levites, who will receive no allotment of the land among you, and as well as to the foreigners living among you, the orphans and the widows in your town, so they can eat and be satisfied. Then Yahweh your Elohim will bless you in all your work. You see what I'm saying? You see, this is what the tithe is about. When they're talking about Malachi, bring all the foods and all that kind of stuff, bring all the tithes and offerings and stuff like that, they were talking about commodity. They were talking about foods, cattle, grain, oil. You know what I'm saying? So do not let these pastors lie to you. In fact, they tell you every year you and your household can eat from your own tithe. You see what I'm saying? We got to let these pastors stop beating this. You know, my name is Brother Jonas, and Shalom. And I'm going to bring down, a lot of pastors are going to tell you, well, we didn't have no money back then. Well, go read Genesis 23 verses 16, where it says that Abraham bought a lot for 400 shekels. Joseph's brother in Genesis 37:28 sold him for 20 pieces of silver. In fact, Joseph's brothers came when there was a famine in Canaan, and in Genesis 42:25-27. Remember, Judas sold Yahshua Mashiach for 30 pieces of silver. That's in Matthew 26 verses 15. So, and you just read right here, it told us right here, sell the tithe for the portion, okay? The tithe portion of the crops, herds, put the money in your pouch. You see what I'm saying? It said use the money to buy anything, any kind of food you want, okay? So, brothers and sisters, man, we got to wake up from this deep sleep. You see what I'm saying? Stop letting these brothers lie to y'all, man. We got to wake up, okay? And tomorrow we will talk about what is the purpose of the tithes. You see what I'm saying? And y'all have a good night and shalom.